They laughed when I got fired, so I exposed their company's fraud. I'm still processing everything that's happened over the last couple of months, but I feel like I need to get this off my chest. This is going to be long, so thanks for sticking with me. I worked at a mid-sized marketing agency for just over 3 years. When I started, I was fresh out of college, full of hope and ambition. The company seemed like a great place to grow. They had a handful of well-known clients, a trendy office in the city, and a casual vibe that felt welcoming. The kind of place where people joked around and grabbed beers after work. But the more I settled in, the more I noticed things that didn't sit right. It started small. I was on a campaign team for a major client, and I noticed some discrepancies in the reporting. The numbers we presented to the client were way better than what the actual campaign was delivering. When I asked my manager about it, he shrugged and said, "Clients want to see results. Sometimes you have to help them see what they want." I laughed it off, thinking maybe I was just overthinking things. Then I started seeing emails between senior staff discussing how to massage the data to make the results look more impressive. I found out that invoices were sent for work that was never done, like ad placements that were booked but never ran. When I raised these issues in small meetings or one-on-ones, I got the same response. "This is how the industry works," or "Don't rock the boat." I tried to stay quiet for a while, convincing myself it wasn't my place to question things. But it kept gnawing at me. It wasn't just that the company was bending the truth, they were straight up committing fraud. About 6 months ago, things came to a head during a team meeting. We were reviewing the quarterly client report, and I pointed out that some of the figures didn't match the back-end data I'd been tracking. I said it felt unethical to present false numbers. The room got awkwardly silent. Then some of the managers started laughing, a few of them smirking and making jokes about how naive and idealistic I was. One even said, "If you want to play in the big leagues, you gotta learn to spin." After that, the atmosphere toward me changed completely. I was left out of important projects. My ideas were dismissed without consideration. It was like I'd become a ghost in the office. Then came the day I was fired. There was no warning, no performance review. I was called into HR, handed a termination letter, and escorted out. The only explanation was that the company was restructuring. I wasn't even allowed to collect my personal items immediately. To make it worse, the very next day, I went to a farewell party for another employee just to say goodbye to people I cared about. While I was there, I overheard some of my former coworkers laughing about me. They said things like, "She always thought she was too good for this place," and "I told her she'd never make it in marketing." That crushed me. I was angry, embarrassed, but mostly hurt. That's when I made the decision to do something. I still had access to a few company systems on my personal devices, and I began to dig. I pulled every email, invoice, internal report, and client communication I could find that showed fraudulent activity. It was worse than I thought. Not just a few instances here and there. Entire campaigns were built on lies. Clients were being charged tens of thousands of dollars for work never done. I also discovered emails where senior management planned how to cover up missed deadlines and fabricated success stories. I knew that simply posting this online wouldn't have the impact I wanted, and it could expose me legally. So, I reached out to a local investigative journalist who has a reputation for exposing corporate wrongdoing. I sent her everything I had, detailed documents, emails, and recordings of meetings where the fraud was discussed. The journalist was shocked but meticulous. Over the next few weeks, she verified my information and interviewed anonymous sources within the company. Then, she published an in-depth expose in a major newspaper's business section. The fallout was immediate. The company lost several major clients overnight. Their stock price dropped. Several top executives resigned or were put on leave pending investigations. The local authorities started an inquiry into the company's business practices. Meanwhile, I've had to deal with mixed reactions. Some people call me a whistleblower and a hero for standing up to corruption. Others say I'm bitter, vindictive, or unprofessional for exposing my former employer like this. Even some friends have told me I should have just let it go and moved on. But honestly, I don't care anymore. They laughed when I got fired. They treated me like a joke. But I took their fraud and brought it into the light. I'm not proud of everything that happened before I was fired. I wasn't perfect. But I'm proud I didn't stay silent. So Reddit, AITA for exposing my former employer's fraud after they laughed at me when I got fired? Follow-up: the aftermath of exposing my former employer's fraud, the good, the bad, and what I'm facing now. Hey Reddit, it's been about 6 weeks since my last post where I shared how I exposed the fraud at my former company after they fired me and laughed about it. I didn't plan on posting again so soon, but I've had a lot to process, and some of you have asked for updates, so here goes. This is going to be long because there's a lot going on in my head and in my life. When the investigative article went live, it blew up far bigger than I ever expected. The story got picked up by several major news outlets and even local TV. Within days, the company's biggest clients pulled out, some demanding refunds or audits on previous work. Their stock price dropped significantly. I read reports estimating they lost millions in market value. The board of directors held an emergency meeting and forced the CEO to resign. Several senior executives, including the CFO and the head of client services, were suspended pending internal and legal investigations. A few former coworkers reached out to me privately, thanking me for exposing what they felt trapped by but afraid to speak out about. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster. Job hunting has been brutal. When recruiters Google my name, they immediately find the expose. While some are impressed and call me a whistleblower, others see me as controversial or high risk. I've had more rejections in the past month than ever before, many without even an interview. I'm trying to remind myself that this will pass, and that integrity is worth more than just a quick job. Legal worries are real. I hired a lawyer experienced in whistleblower protections. Thankfully, because I only shared factual information and didn't steal company data illegally, I'm protected under the state's whistleblower laws and certain federal statutes. But there's still a lingering anxiety about potential lawsuits or retaliation. It's hard not to dwell on what if. The emotional weight is crushing sometimes. Losing my job was hard, but losing friendships and trust has been worse. Some former colleagues have cut ties completely, calling me a snitch or saying I burn bridges. I also feel guilty knowing some innocent people at the company are collateral damage in this. I've been seeing a therapist to help cope with the stress, guilt, and loneliness. One unexpected silver lining has been the support I found. I connected with several whistleblower advocacy groups who offered legal advice, emotional support, and community. They've helped me understand my rights and navigate the tricky legal landscape. A few journalists and activists have reached out, inviting me to share my story on podcasts and panels about corporate ethics and employee rights. My family and a small circle of close friends have been my rock. They keep me grounded when the anxiety and self-doubt hit. This whole experience has forced me to rethink a lot about who I am and what I stand for. Initially, exposing the fraud felt like an act of revenge, a way to prove them wrong and punish the people who laughed at me. But now, I realize it was about more than me. It was about protecting innocent clients, preventing further harm, and demanding accountability. I'm learning to be kinder to myself. I made mistakes along the way. Maybe I should have tried to raise concerns more discreetly or documented things earlier. But I can't change the past. I can only move forward. I'm rethinking my career. Marketing might not be the right fit anymore, especially given how toxic the culture was at my last company. I'm exploring roles in nonprofit, compliance, or corporate ethics, areas where I can use what I learned to help companies do better. If you're thinking about speaking out or fighting against unethical behavior in your workplace, here are some lessons I've picked up. Document everything carefully and legally. Make sure your evidence is solid and gathered without breaking any laws. Get legal advice before taking any steps. Knowing your rights and protections is crucial. Build a support network. Whether it's friends, family, professionals, or advocacy groups, you don't have to do this alone. Be prepared for backlash. Exposing wrongdoing often comes with personal and professional costs. Remember why you're doing it. Focus on the bigger picture, not just personal vendettas. I'm still searching for a new job. I'm trying to stay hopeful and keep learning. I've started volunteering with a nonprofit focused on corporate accountability, which has been fulfilling and reminds me why I fought this fight in the first place. I'm also committed to being honest and transparent going forward. No more hiding behind silence or fear. Thanks for reading this long update. If anyone here has been through similar situations or has advice on dealing with the fallout of whistleblowing, I'd really appreciate hearing from you. To anyone out there dealing with a toxic workplace or considering speaking up, it's scary, it's lonely, but standing up for what's right does matter.